It's April 30, Ukrainian Media Center starts its operation. My name is Svetlana Shaparenko, and now we're about to talk about Expo 2025, about the communication between Ukraine and the world in the language of innovations. And joining us in the studio is Tetiana Berezhna, Deputy Minister of Economy of Ukraine. Good afternoon, Ms. Tetiana. Good afternoon, Svetlana. So Expo 2025 is a big event for Ukraine. We've seen the footage and pictures from the exhibition. The exhibition is long-lasting. It's going to last for half a month. Half a year. It's going to last until 13th of October, and it's going on in Osaka, Japan. It's quite a prestigious exhibition. So can you please tell us about the place of Ukraine in this exhibition, and why was it important for us to take part? Well, Expo is a unique large-scale event that is happening once in 5 years, and it's happening in Osaka this year. And to understand the scale of Expo, previously it was an event where the countries were bringing the biggest achievements in the area of technologies and, for example, agriculture too, and to understand the scale, like Eiffel's Tower, X-ray, were all those inventions that were demonstrated at Expo. It's a formulation of future for our society. Every country that had an opportunity to take part in this year's Expo, and the total number of participants was 160, through their booth had to demonstrate their vision of the future and what would be the contribution of that country to the global future, to the global development. And for us, it's important during the full-scale invasion, during the time we're waging a war, to take part in this global dialogue despite anything, because all in all we have things to say. We had a small booth, only 52 square meters large, but we've used every single square meter to demonstrate our vision of this future in the world, and now we see the way it was looking. Other countries like Japan, USA, France, they had dedicated booth, hundreds of square meters large, maybe even thousands, where they could, with no limitations, demonstrate their vision of the future. So can you please tell us a little bit more about the concept? We really see that this booth is quite stylish. So what does it symbolize? What were the fundamental ideas? Well, we were working on the booth for 3 months only. Meanwhile, other countries usually take 2 to 3 years, but we used that time quite efficiently. What do we want to say with our booth? So getting back to the topics of Expo, it's the creation of future for our society. What is the contribution of Ukraine to the society's future? And with our pavilion, we wanted to demonstrate the profound essence of it, that the future societies are built on values. Only then they can be resilient. The values are the foundation of everything. Without common values, without this essence, no cooperation, no partnership can be built. The values are a foundation of all. That's why we've opened a shop where there is such a provocative caption. It says "not for sale." It's a shop where you can't buy anything. So what's on the shelves? On the shelves of this shop, there are artifacts that symbolize Ukrainian values: resilience, freedom of speech, inclusiveness, the right to education, resilience of our businesses, and so on and so forth. And on the screen, you can see the barcodes. So as a person approaches an exhibit, they try to understand what is the price the Ukrainian people are paying for all those values: the right to speak freely, the right to education. So on this reader, that reads the barcode, you can see a video. For example, you see a letter M. That's an artifact that symbolizes Kharkiv metro, Kharkiv subway, an artifact that symbolizes the right to education. So as a person approaches that exhibit and scans a barcode on that small screen on the reader, they can see a video of Ukrainian children studying in the shelter in Kharkiv, because it's clear that in order to practice the right to education, to study, we're paying quite a high price. We're studying underground, but we keep doing it nonetheless. For example, as we approach an Oscar figurine, you can see it on the screen now, and you scan the barcode over there, we see the Ukrainian directors winning an Oscar during the full-scale invasion. Nothing impeded them to demonstrate their right to freedom of speech, their right to take part in cultural life, and to be successful. So we had 18 artifacts that were symbolizing the value for Ukraine. For example, this loudspeaker, it symbolized the right to take part in prides, in the events that symbolize the right of Ukrainians to freedom of speech, to the inclusiveness, to the multifaceted nature of our society. This booth, it demonstrates the difference between the value and the price, or in other words, the booth is uniting those phenomena. And we were realizing it's quite a profound idea. We had a little bit of fright that we wouldn't have been understood, but we were way better understood than we were expecting, because people coming and scanning the barcodes, they were adults, they were teenagers, they were all impressed. Some of them were breaking in tears. And as we've opened our booth, the line was so long that it was starting near the booths of other countries. And at a certain moment, the staff who were working at the expo, they had to engage the road traffic controllers, so that people don't create obstacles for other visitors. People were standing in front of the booth for half an hour just to wait to be able to scan that price tag, the barcode tag. And we were impressed by those people watching the videos. You know, they were watching them until the very end. You know, they wanted to see all of the 18 artifacts. Yeah, and it demonstrates that we really made the transformation. The people who knew nothing about Ukraine found out the most important things about Ukraine. Can you please tell us more about the feedback from the common folks, the visitors of the exhibition, and probably government officials representing Japan and other countries? What was their reaction? Well, everybody was impressed by the fact that the booth had a depth, so it was not just artifacts just sitting on the shelves. It was something interacting with you. They were impressed by the fact that we were able to create it within such a short term. And those videos that were opening and demonstrating the values, they were saturated with content and they were causing emotions. And another good feedback is this long line. For example, right here, you can see me on the photo talking about the artifacts to the General Commissioner of the European Union booth. Like every country had their booth and European Union had their dedicated booth. It was incredibly interesting for them. So the opening of our booth was attended by the representatives of our embassy and representatives of the Ministry of Economy of Japan. So our booth was added with a small island that demonstrated other artifacts representing our businesses. There is, for example, a D-Tech helmet, innovative inventions from Ajax and Astarta. There was a small bottle with oil coming from Ukernafta, and there were artifacts coming from Biosphere, a company whose warehouse was destroyed like 2 days before the opening of the exhibition by the it was destroyed by the enemy, but they still came and they've demonstrated that here's the resilience of Ukrainian business. So Values Dream Economy was the name of this booth for the businesses, that small area, and it demonstrated that during the war, the businesses don't only do what they're supposed to do, like creating jobs, making money, paying taxes, but they do something extra. For example, DTEC power technicians, on top of giving us light, managed to recover the destroyed power grid facilities within the shortest term. For example, the Ajax siren, there are 2 holes made by the shots, by the bullets, and it's a symbol of the fact that even under the shellings, we keep waking up, going to work, because we understand that we're a responsible society. So those 2 small islands that we see, 15 square meters, and the booth, they keep working until this very moment, and we see people attending it, like a Minister of Finance of Denmark and other reputed guests. And what's interesting, you see, is when the Japanese, 90% of the attenders are Japanese, so they keep coming with Ukrainian banners, with Ukrainian flags, wearing vyshyvankas. Some of them are wearing T-shirts with the portrait of our president. They have a very objective understanding of the fact that there is a war going on in Ukraine, that Russia attacked Ukraine, that it's an unprovoked aggression. But those videos that open as you scan the barcode of an artifact, they provide more depth to what they know about Ukraine, because the stories of the real humans is the best way to tell about what's going on. Well, on top of the 3-month preparation, what were the other challenges that you were facing, probably of logistic nature, because Japan is difficult to get to from Ukraine? I mean, given the fact that we have a martial law in effect. Well, really, we had a number of extreme situations, but thanks to the motivation of our team, we were able to open our booth in a timely manner, even despite the fact that other countries, not all of them, were able to make it within the time of opening, by the time of opening. So all the artifacts that you see on the screen, they were printed using 3D printers, thanks to the help of our partners, Polo and Caparol. They were coming from Ukraine just like this, but there were some artifacts, for example, the suitcases that you see on the screen, or the globe. The globe, by the way, is symbolizing the global food security and the way that Ukrainian farmers ensure it, supplying the food all over the world. So they were painted directly in Osaka by the heads of our team. They arrived from the customs control to the booth on the 11th of April. Meanwhile, we had to open on 13th of April. So basically, we were painting them right over there near the booth, under the burning sun and then under the rain, but still we've made it. So basically, the fact that everything is sitting on its shelves, well, you know, behind it is a lot of work, because logistic was really a challenge. We didn't spend a single hryvnia for outfitting of our booth, no single hryvnia of budget funds. We understand that all of our costs should be channeled for social expenses and war, so we've taken our best efforts to do it at partners' costs. But first of all, we appreciate the input of the government of Japan and the Japanese people for helping us with the lion's share of the expenses for opening our booth, for helping us to outfit the walls in compliance with the render that we've presented. And honestly, inside of the booth, thanks to the lighting, thanks to the colors, the atmosphere in the booth was way better than in the visualization.
Have you studied the media results of your booth? Have you checked the Japanese newspapers? Yes, we did, and there were mentions about our booth in the Japanese media. In general, in the first few days, we have seen a lot of activity in terms of what the newspapers in Japan were, not only in Japan, were writing about Ukraine. we had more than 80 mentions in the first few days, and if we are talking about the general number of the people who got to know about our booth in this expo, it was 89 million people. And we have seen also video reports about our booth. On the 14th of April, I went with a business trip to Kyoto, where I met with trading representatives of Japan, and we were and I was complimented actually on the booth on this exposition. And our Ministry of Economy of Ukraine and the people who helped us, I would like to say that it was not in vain. It was really important, and it was a big investment into the relationships of Ukraine with foreign countries, and Japan in particular. Also, very important that Japanese kids have seen what Ukraine is, what kind of country it is, and apparently for some of them it was first time they heard about this country, and it was actually this was the result that we were counting on. How about the amount of the number of people that actually visited the exposition itself, like the booth? And it was very difficult to actually count the number, but it was more than 23 million people. In the first day, we had 6,000 visitors. So having these numbers, we kind of can extrapolate the numbers. And the workers of the expo did tell us that our booth is very popular as compared to the other expositions of other countries. What about the other countries that took part in this exposition? What were the relationships between the different expositions of different countries? What have you seen there? Yes, we had seen. We actually arranged a few meetings with our colleagues during this exposition, so to speak, using the opportunity. And for example, we had 2 conversations. The topic of those conversations was, of course, the values and their importance, the common values and their importance in the relationships between countries, our countries, and their importance for the future. And during this discussion, we had our popular Ukrainian people, professors, and other people talk about important topics. And also we had a discussion where different representatives of business were invited too. And another discussion, yes, also representatives of the European Union booth and Canadian booth also visited our exposition. Soon we will have a Ukrainian day of the Ukrainian exposition during this particular exposition. So what is planned for this day? There will be delegation of high-ranking people from Ukraine specifically for that day. And we will be talking about our country. And also, we are planning to, using the items that are already present in our exposition, we will be talking about particular topics when we will have those visits, those meetings that are planned for that day. And right at this time, we're working hard on the concept of this of the possible format of those meetings that are planned for the Ukrainian National Day during the exposition. So yeah, we are getting ready, and we are counting on the. We're counting on the wow effect of the day, similar to the one that we had just for our booth opening. What are you awaiting? What are you awaiting from this exposition in general? Which connections, maybe new directions of development and so on and so on. We are making emphasis on a lot of business representatives from our country, meeting with the business representatives of other countries, because as a Ministry of Economy, this is our sphere of interest, and I urge you to observe our activity during this exposition, because there will definitely be some reports, video reports, and so on. Thank you. Maybe journalists have questions?
Well, talking about the relations with Japan, maybe there were some investment proposals, maybe something unexpected coming from the visitors, from the participants. Well, in fact, all of the proposals that we are about to get in the process of different events, for example, during the meetings in the pavilions of other countries, we are going to gather them and we are going to process them. But the preconditions before this expo were the two business conferences, one in Tokyo and one in Osaka back in December 2024, when we attended that conference with a delegation of Ukrainian businesses that was headed by the Minister of Economy, Yulia Sviridenko. That was one of the biggest forums, and now we are in the process of processing all of the proposals that were extended back then, and we think that Expo and Ukrainian Pavilion will be just another reason to detailize those agreements and to bring them to some result. Thank you, Ms. Tetiana. Let me remind everybody that we were discussing Expo 2025 and the way Ukraine represents itself within this large-scale exhibition, and Ukraine Media Center will continue within a couple of days. Thank you for staying tuned.